Hi guys, it's the second episode with Erik Mannby, and of course Erik Mannby,
Jordan,
and Michal, and I hope that you will love it as you loved, I hope so, the 12th episode.
You should have, it was quite lovely.
It was a long interview, so we just created a second episode because 1.5 hours to listen
to my boring old voice.
Like those three.
No, it's
like
quite interesting, but the problem is people are not patient. People are not as patient as this.
Welcome to our second episode with Erik Mannby.
Well, we have been talking about a few brands, but if there were some of them that you had to recommend, I would say if you want to dress up or if you want to wear shoes, do you have any recommendation let's stay in Scandinavia then?
Yeah, just tell us, what do you like to wear? Are you wearing actually bespoke? Are you wearing made to measure? Are you wearing something vintage from Pete and Harry?
I'm wearing all of the above. So I'm good friends with the guy at Myrqvist, so naturally I'll wear a lot of their shoes, also because I think they have some really cool models. But I'm also friends with a lot of other shoemakers, so I've been trying out a lot of different shoes from all over the world. So, for example, I have a friend who lives in Hong Kong and has made his own shoe brand there. So I tried out his shoes, fantastic quality.
What's the brand?
It's called Mori of Shoemakers. It's so he created a couple of models in collaboration with a bespoke shoemaker from Japan, and
those are
good stuff.
Yeah.
It's really good stuff, but they created a ready-to-wear brand, but based off of his bespoke models, and the shoes are fantastic. And then recently I tried out Gazziano and Girling for the first time from their made-to-order range, which is quality-wise second to none. It's just fantastic shoes.
What was the shoe model?
So I choose a Burnham, which is a Chelsea boot with kind of a chiseled toe and with slight burnished patina.
Is it the burgundy one?
Yeah, burgundy, but with slightly darker
patina.
Patina, exactly. And usually I'm not big on pre-patinaed shoes, but they make it so beautiful that I just couldn't help but choosing one of those.
You have some history with the patina shoes.
Yeah. My first pair, one of my first pair of shoes. Yeah, it is the third episode we are mentioning it. It was red hand painted Hulk at Oxford.
Yeah.
I think we have two recurring things in this podcast. It's this pair of shoes and my first
Cordovan.
Suit. No,
Zara beige
my
suit.
first beige Zara suit that I used to go to university sometimes, just like that.
Yeah, you told us that your first suit was very bright green.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. I don't remember which suit was my first. Probably one of my grandfather's or one of my dad's suits that I found way back in the closet when I was much younger. But after that, I've gone with pretty bright things. It took a while for me to even get a navy or gray suit.
Yeah, because always you want to go with something flamboyant, and then no, the navy can wait.
But that's interesting, because you have been mentioning how you went to menswear, but then maybe you have seen your father also being dressed up. Could that influence you as well?
I'd never seen my dad wear suits in real life.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, I've seen it.
Same here.
I've seen it
once.
In pictures.
Twice, sorry.
So there's this one photo from my christening where Dad was wearing a 3-piece tweed suit. I've never seen him
really
wearing anything like that in real life. He's only ever wore jeans and t-shirts, which,
But that's pretty bold.
It is.
You know, most of people, they don't own suits like that.
No, but this was the 70s. People were quite bold back then.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Even in Sweden.
Yeah, I think so. Like the very big lapels.
Oh yeah.
A lot of
flare trousers.
Yeah.
And it's coming back right now.
Yeah, the flare trousers definitely.
Yeah, but it comes without the problem, so to speak, with the 70s is that it was very tight on the body and very flared on the
but you know, I have a fun fact. In Poland, white trousers with flare, but not like tapered, but just all the way wide and even wider at the opening. We call it Swede. It's Swedish people's Swede.
Ah, okay.
I think it was from like ABBA.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Probably the biggest Swedish music export.
Yeah, definitely. So that would be the brands that you recommend in Sweden. And when it comes to a bit more suits or more.
I mean, there aren't that many Swedish shoe brands. There are some, like we had a master shoemaker in Sweden who people traveled all over the world to train with, but I think he's passed away. But he left some, independent shoemakers. But as for bigger brands, that are like truly based in Scandinavia. It's Myrqvist and Myrqvist. I don't know.
But those
Skoaktiebolaget.
Yeah, exactly.
And Skoaktiebolaget. But I think
Skoaktiebolaget is just a brand, but they sell Janko shoes mostly, and Mermin, I think.
No, but Mermin.
No, but Skoaktiebolaget, there is a Swedish brand, Le Fortung.
Yeah,
they're made in Portugal.
Okay.
And my cowboy boots are from Le Fortung.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when it comes to more formal wear, I mean suits or just clothes, do you have some recommendation or in Scandinavia still that you like to wear?
Well, since I you are involved. Co-owner of Götrich. But I don't want to sound biased. I mean, I have a lot of my favorite pieces are from Götrich.
Yeah.
Like I got
that would make sense. Excellent makers. So
yeah, I mean, I got my dinner suit there. I've been wearing it for like maybe 7 or 8 years. Still get a lot of compliments on that one.
Nice.
I wore it to events all over the world. Get compliments wherever I go with it because it's a very classic cut.
Yeah.
But then I've also
so maybe some jump in the pool.
No, that's more Andreas.
Shout out to Andreas. Maybe he will be our next guest.
Yeah, but I tried suits from Blue Yellow.
Yeah.
They're really good, and I've tried suits from all over the world basically. Yeah. But if you talk about specifically Scandinavia, then it's been Blue Yellow, and I've tried some from Engelska Herre in Malmö and some other places. They were all good. Bespoke wise, I haven't tried Bauer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to, but I don't know if they see me as part of the competition or anything.
I don't think to know Fredrik. I don't think his vision is so narrow-minded. To be honest,
it's not my impression either. And
but there's one thing about because at Götrich you can order a suit made in Sweden, made in Italy, and made in London.
Not made in Italy.
Not made in Italy, but there are like 3 versions.
Yeah, so you can order one that's made in Sweden, in-house, and that's made by our old master tailor.
Exactly. That's the most expensive option.
It's definitely the most expensive one. It's probably 3 times as expensive as the next, most expensive one. And we are partnered with Cad and Dandy in
London,
which is now probably the fastest growing tailoring house and
the youngest
in the world. Yeah.
Okay.
So they've just outgrown so many of the old tailoring houses because they do have a very different business model. Actually, the guys who started it, who, of course, since we work together and we've drank together a lot.
I met him at Pity, yeah.
Yeah, we've got to know each other quite well, and they are very business-minded. So it's, of course, they love the whole historic part and the aesthetic, but also they have a very good business model. Mm-hmm. So they've managed to grow a lot, and so we've then collaborated with them. So they have this really good sourcing for fabrics, cloth from all the top makers in the world, which has helped us. So we get much better prices, so we can keep the prices down if we make it with them, which is a fantastic deal for the customers because it is bespoke, but it's a slightly different bespoke model from of a Bauer, for example. The fitting is usually done with a toile, which is like a testing garment.
Like made to measure fittings?
Not really, because it's made from a fabric that's totally disposable. Okay. So you first make up a suit in a really crappy cloth, basically. But you nail down the fit and then
template.
Yeah, a template basically, and then from that you get a completely individualized pattern, and you can reuse that pattern as in any bespoke business. But it's not it's still fittings, but it's not like the basted fittings that you will see from a lot of other tailoring shops. But the end result is the same,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's technique might differ, but at the end of the day, it's still quite accurate. If you want to try some handmade Italian, that's something that we propose at Blue Cello. Maybe you should try.
Well, I do. I have a lot of friends in Naples, so I go there.
You already have it.
I go for a lot of bespoke stuff there.
That's difficult to compete with this, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Neapolitan pizza. You will get a good Neapolitan pizza in Stockholm, like Meno Male, for example. Not paid, by the way, but I love their pizzas. But then you go to Napoli and you get a pizza from the oldest pizzeria in the world, and it's gonna be something else.
Yeah, you have a job from Eduardo de Simone.
Yeah, we did.
Pete and Herse, in Neapolitan tailor.
Which was like the fun thing about Eduardo. Also known him almost since I started in the business. He runs one of the biggest tailoring businesses in Naples, and he makes clothing for some of the biggest luxury brands in the world. I can't name any names, but so that's where he makes the money. And then he does the whole bespoke sartorial thing, I think mostly because he just loves it so much. So it's completely handmade in Naples, but since he's also got such a big business, he can keep the prices quite good. Even though it's like the craftsmanship that's second to none, and the fabrics he uses, that's from the top cloth makers in the world. So it's a really, really impressive kind of business. And then because he's got this, and since we've been friends for so many years, he asked me, do you want to try and sell some of my clothes at your shop, at Pete and Harry? So I was like, sure. I mean, it's a definitely good value proposition. And so we released that last week, and it's sold so much because people, if you tell them the story, this is what you get. You won't get better value anywhere else. They will love it.
So important to know. I mean, I have a past of copywriter. I'm coming from art, so writing stories is kind of biased for me. How important it is, but it is so important to transmit the history, because the history is also a story behind, and to know how to transmit this story will give back the value of what you are putting on your shoulders. So important to know we are talking about heritage for a reason. It's so important to know where it's coming from. It's rooting you in a certain way.
Yeah, and I think Italians, maybe especially Southern Italians, they are really good at storytelling. Like, this business has been in my family since since the 1700s.
I wonder how much is true.
You can never know. They don't even know themselves. They are not sure anymore.
Yeah, every story is just different.
Yeah, it's different. And if you speak about specifically Neapolitan tailoring, the backstory is like that. Attolini, who worked for Rubinacci back in the 30s.
Or for Mafia.
Well, I don't know about that, but he was the creator of the Neapolitan suit.
Yeah.
And then the stories differ a bit, because some people say he went to Savile Row, looked at the tailoring there, brought it back to Naples and stripped out a lot of the padding and a lot of the canvas to make it lighter and more suitable for the climate in Naples. And then where things differ is that some say that he couldn't make a British shoulder, and that's why he used like the shirt maker's way of making shoulders, so it became the spalla camicia, which is probably the most famous type of Neapolitan shoulder.
Some angry Englishmen spreading this story.
It might be, yeah. It's kind of sounds like it would be an English made-up story, but of course that's a totally unique expression, and no matter the story behind it, it's a fantastic invention nonetheless.
Because and it makes sense with just the climate and the way Italians are.
And I love a good British suit, and I love a good Italian suit. Well, you can't say Italian because northern Italy and southern Italy, the tailoring is completely different. But I think they are both beautiful in
the diversity.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, right? That's what is beautiful. Diversity. Again, we are talking about culture. We are not only talking about clothing. So diversity is important. That's where the beauty comes from, and from the impossibility for a certain culture to develop certain things, because then another culture will develop those things. And us as individuals, I think our strength is to evaluate this and pick and mismatch and match all those things, because we are free. We are not from only one aspect of a culture. That's where our own creativity can express itself. I would say that this is where we can really express ourselves. It's by taking those so different those so different culture are bringing and making it more ours. Can like a very British fabric, but making it in a very Italian way, for example. French are a bit in between. We are also trying to be a bit different in our way.
How dare you taking an Italian fabric and make it a British?
Spalla camicia with the Irish tweed.
Exactly.
The French tailoring is also very interesting because it's something completely different.
Never heard of French tailoring, actually.
Well, you must have heard of Chiffonelli, for example, which is probably one of the most well-renowned tailoring houses in the world. And I think about French tailoring, it's more like now. Excuse my pronunciation because I can't speak a word of French, but haute couture.
Haute couture, yes.
So it comes from the same sort of place. It's more like an artistic approach to tailoring.
Absolutely.
And very, very finely made details. And I'm not saying that those kind of details don't exist in British or in Italian tailoring, but it's
almost a different approach.
It's a different approach. I'd say more from an artistic.
Exactly.
Side.
We don't really exist when it comes to when you are talking about style. We are always talking about there's the English style, there's the Italian style,
and American.
American also is something that tends to exist now, and we are whether it's good or bad taste, but that's another question. But there is
it's just a different taste.
Exactly. But there is no. We're joking. Are we? No. But the French style doesn't exist per se. But the French making, the French makers definitely exist. But that's so true. It's so much blended and influenced by haute couture that it's almost somewhere else.
What's the characteristic of French style then?
I'd say, like, if you look at Cifonelli, for example, very pronounced shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean,
very expressive.
I've mostly seen it
raised shoulders.
Yeah. And also I've mostly seen
with
it
padding
on Hugo because he's the guy I know best from France, but he like kind of low buttoning a lot of times, slightly more on the narrow side than the typical British tailoring, let's say. And just like the handwork is beautiful.
It's phenomenal, quite round, also the lapels and so on, very expressive all in all, and a lot of shoulders. The shoulders and the lapels are so specific to Cifonelli. You would recognize them from miles, actually.
Erik, do you have your favorite style?
You mean like
tailoring style?
Tailoring style. I can't really say that I do. It all depends on if I'm gonna get like a black tie for very formal events in a Nordic setting, then I go for a British tailor. But if I want to have like a dinner jacket for a southern climate, then I would probably go with an Italian, like get a white dinner jacket or something. And if I'm, I tend to wear a lot of casual stuff, so it's a lot of times it's southern Italian tailoring. But then
formal British casual Italian.
Yeah, sort of. But then again,
makes sense.
Italians can make a good formal suit, and Brits can make a good casual suit. So it's not like
But then it's more casual for some, I don't know, like go on the countryside thing. British.
Yeah, I mean, but also since this business is sort of like the interactions between different parts of the world is so big, some British tailors have been influenced by Italian tailors, and some Italian tailors have been influenced by British tailoring. So you can find like for example, if you talk about like expression of like different builds of suits, there was this one guy who was named Frederick Schulte, and he created a drape cut, which is when you use and you shape with steam and with just different cutting of the layers of canvas in the chest. You create a more pronounced chest area, and that is used both on Savile Row and in Italian tailoring. And I mean, so it's kind of interesting that a lot of expressions are just universal.
Yeah, I'm curious about something. You mentioned again your tuxedo, and you said that you still receive a lot of compliments when you are wearing it. I'm curious about how do you feel about those compliments? How do you feel when you receive a compliment about what you are wearing? Do you feel, because, and I'm asking this on purpose, it's because there is this attitude, conservative attitude towards garments, that if they stand out too much, you would get a compliment out of them. And you more want to blend,
Well, I've never cared about blending in.
Yeah.
But this particular, dinner suit is quite conservative, even though it's got very broad lapels, but the model itself is very classic.
Yeah.
But I think just wearing black tie today will make you stand out.
Exactly.
But of course, in a black tie setting, then you can just compare to other black tie suits, and a lot of people wear the ready-to-wear stuff, which is like low-waisted. The trousers are, in my opinion, slightly too slim-fitted.
Always.
The lapels are slightly too narrow, and You know, that the shirt is just puckering out, which is not a very flattering look for anyone. So mine is cut very classically, like high-waisted. I have a
low
buttoning, and a vest to go with it, which is like a shoehorn, a horseshoe shaped. Which I think is beautiful.
Straight legs and elongated jacket.
So I think I get a lot of compliments from people who actually know a thing or two about black tie.
Then you know that it's coming from the fact that it's well made.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have something to end with. Do you have, because a lot of people that are new to menswear are watching and listening to us, do you have some maybe advices how to start your journey into menswear?
Well, it depends. Do you want to work with menswear or
no? Just to wear menswear. Just starting, like buying the first suit, first shoes. How should you start? How's the best? Because you know, we made our mistakes. Your like bright green suit maybe was not so practical, or maybe it was. Like my red my red shoes maybe were not so practical. What advices would you give to just rookies into menswear?
Yeah, so I think it all depends. If you're buying a suit for work or for a special type of event, for example, then go with the classics.
Exactly.
Like, don't show up at your new job as a banker or a finance guy wearing a bright green suit.
Or beige Zara.
Yeah.
But I show up at university, so.
Okay.
I mean, in a like academic situation, you can wear anything. But so if you're getting a suit for those kind of conservative environments, then go definitely with the classics. Navy suit or gray suit. To be on the safe side, single-breasted. Go with black Oxfords. Maybe not. You don't need to have a white shirt. You can have a light blue or blue-white stripe, sort of what you're wearing today. But maybe not with a button-down color. More like a spread color, and just a conservative tie. That's a good look. You're always going to look good in it. But if you, like me, come into the whole thing by just being very interested in it, then the rules are off the tables. Then just go with what makes you feel good, what you think is fun and interesting, and just go out there and experiment a lot.
And just play with style.
Yeah, play with style, make it a part of, like, reflecting your personality.
But about that, I'm curious about your own inspiration. I mean, my case, I'm coming from visual arts, so I'm very well inspired by whether it's painting or it's cinema, I would say. Cinema always holds parts of history, and in that regard we are exactly in the heritage we were mentioning before. I'm also quite admirative of another way of expression. I would say that it's quite Asian, especially Japanese, that is a way to adapt also to in terms of colors and texture, to the environment. And I would say it's almost a step above, I would say, to blend, but not to blend in, but to be part of, but that's something that has a lot to do, I would say, with their own culture. And if we talk about Japanese, it's the Zen culture of belonging to a place and so on. So I would say that's almost a step beyond this. But what about you? Do you have some inspiration? And where they're coming from? You mentioned before a bit that it was coming from music. But is there also visual art in this?
Yes, definitely. So like you, I'm very interested in film, movies, and a lot of my inspiration has come from that, like classic movies. If you want to look for a great movie for sartorial inspiration, I definitely recommend Casablanca.
Sure.
So a lot of like historic interest in visual arts, also of course art.
Yeah.
And yeah, so music, movies, art, that's probably the things where I've gathered most inspiration. Old family photos, you know, finding my grandpa's old clothes.
That's nice.
Like the mix of all of that.
Yeah. I mean, music usually gives the attitude and gives some gut feeling to the clothes, and also makes you venture into something that goes a bit outside the box, and
more flamboyant outfits.
More flamboyant, yeah. Cinema, it's more the classic aspect of it. There's some rigorous beauty in it, I would say, and definitely referring to the 30s, 40s. I mean, when you still watch the Fred Astaire and Jane Kelly, you still feel, this is beautiful. I was watching some image, archive image, you know, that they colorized afterward. It was like a 30s view of the street in, I think it was New York, but an American city. And just the way the guys were dressed up, I mean, that still
Instagram.
Looks extremely good.
On Instagram, I think exactly. I saw that reel.
I mean, the drape of the pants and the way the jacket is. I mean, that's what I'm oftentimes when I have clients. They're a bit skeptical about because we kind of live in a bubble. We have this habit to see the nice proportions on everything, but I don't see, of course it comes from something that you can learn, but that comes also from just the common sense, I would say. You can see when something is aesthetical, it just works in your eyes, you know. It's like the melody of a language. When you found the melody of a language, you know when there's a mistake, because there's gonna have this dissonance, and it's gonna feel ugly in some way. And
but then of course it's also that when you know this language quite well, a slight bit of dissonance might make it more beautiful.
No, but it's like silence is also music, you know. So it's exactly this. Then you find the beauty in this slight dissonance, and for me it always needs to come to somewhere in a certain way. And we're talking about music when it comes to this attitude, when it comes to this energy, then it makes sense. Or when it comes to your environment, I mean, some of the most beautiful trends and the most important trends in art, generally speaking, are coming from the street, because they come from needs of expression. There's an urgency to express yourself, and that's something that we can still have with music. So when it comes from something, when it makes sense, then it's the beauty stands out, and then you have a valid way of expressing yourself even when you venture outside the box, I would say. But I would say that it's always important to remember that what we are talking about is not narrowed down to a niche.
No.
But it's just another facet of a reality that is so much more vast than this. And if we are talking about beauty again, another movie more modern that could be interesting is La Grande Bellezza.
Yes, I was thinking of the same one.
I thought that actually Erik will mention this movie.
Yeah, but I mean it's
the yellow jackets.
Yeah, but what is super interesting is that it's about beauty, and yes, what we are talking about, it's beauty, and beauty is important. I would say that, and maybe I'm a bit conservative as well on this, because I find that there's a lot of ugliness in our world, which is part of the world. You cannot erase ugliness, but I think that there's something very wrong is to explain that ugliness is pretty. I believe that ugliness is not pretty. There's a difference in between accepting that ugliness exists because it's part of the world, and it's just the other side of the coin of beauty. But praising ugliness is another thing, and I think because we love beauty, in this case we tend to like to have beauty around us. It doesn't come only. Some people might also try to destroy this vision by explaining that it's very realistic, elitist vision of things, or that it's about money. Not very much, to be honest.
No, and I think, well, of course, beauty is very much subjective.
It has a cost, yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people find beauty in things that I don't really comprehend at all. But I think, like mine and probably what we all sitting here consider beautiful is very much, depending on certain qualities.
Yeah.
And those qualities aren't shared by a lot of people. So yes, there is definitely a difference between what we'd consider ugly then, but I think also the good thing about it is that it creates a contrast, and you experience the beauty more fully because it's so rare.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. But it's something that we were a bit talking off camera, but this leads directly to this question. There is some critics about what we are interested in this case, and saying that it's something that is a bit superficial, maybe, or even narcissistic. I of course don't believe this for those reasons, but how do you still encounter this kind of attitude, actually?
Yes. Yeah. To be honest, though, I think, and this goes for most people, we are all, closest to ourselves. I think everyone has a slight bit of narcissism.
Yeah, that's actually confirmed. Everyone has.
Yeah.
But recognizing that in yourself is, I mean, that's the best way to, grow as an individual.
Absolutely.
And I'm never trying to deny that I'm somewhat vain, but with that said, I don't think it's more narcissistic to wear this than to wear the latest trainers, or
Absolutely.
all people in all different areas are sort of vain, because if you go out into the suburbs of Stockholm, there will be certain brands that carry a higher status than others, and so it all depends on where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely true.
I wouldn't say that wearing suits is in any way more narcissistic than wearing anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a Swedish sketch that that made me laugh a lot, but that is very true. It goes in that sense. The guy was saying there's only 3 things you need to go through the ghetto without any problems, and he was showing the 3 bands of his Adidas.
It's very Slavic. Some of the guys will say.
Yeah, but I mean that's also the way I got. My eye for aesthetic comes from art, but my attitude towards menswear comes from this. When I was a kid, I had no ideas that it did matter to dress somehow or in one way or another. And I remember there was this. I was maybe 12, and this girl comes to me and she's trying. I don't know, she didn't like me for some reason, and she wants to say something very mean to me. And she's saying me, yeah, but you cannot even talk because you are not even wearing brand. And I got shocked. I was like, wow, this is a thing? I didn't even know. I was so naive and innocent. Going all this way to 12 years old to not realize that wearing a t-shirt that is written Adidas on it will give you more popularity than just wearing a nice t-shirt.
When I was young, it was a thing, Adidas, Nike, and even we had a period when Fruit of the Loom, the basic brand of if you want to have some kind of name of your company on print, it was just Fruit of the Loom. Yeah, but guys, we are talking 1.5 hours, so we have two episodes.
All right, that's and we could talk more actually.
Exactly. But so
we're gonna stop it at some point.
Yeah, so it's a wrap. We have a lot of content. I think we don't need to even have the part when we recommend something, because we already recommended a lot of.
Yeah. It was a bit of a special episode. Yeah.
We don't have Helena, so we don't have any games today.
Yeah. She's in
Milan Fashion Week. Yeah.
She's a stylist, so she's enjoying the fashion week.
Girlfriend. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So guys, thank you, Erik, for coming today.
Yeah, thank you for coming, and thank you for spending the time. 1 hour and a half is quite something.
Thank you for talking to me for an hour and a half.
That was fun.
I hope, guys, that you learned something new. You have some extra recommendations from like one of the biggest profiles in menswear, I think, in in the whole world, I think, because like it's like a niche of the niche, as Erik said. Yeah. So guys, that was actually 12th and 13th episode of Suit Yourself, a menswear podcast. And you guys, you can reach us on Instagram, Suit Yourself Podcast, and of course on YouTube if you have some ideas for next episodes, or maybe for our next guest, like just reach us out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thank you, Erik. Ciao.